time to start thinking about how to treat yourself for what I'm sure will be another productive week. You deserve it, right? Well, for something different, very different, I think we'll find out. Consider what's going on at Schrott Center for the Arts on Saturday. Comedian Paul Mecurio is with me to break it down. Paul, what a pleasure.
Well, hey, man, how's it going? I think the last time we saw each other was 10 years ago in the studio, some other studio in Indy. So it's great to see you, man.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. All right. So you've got a great gig with The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I've enjoyed your appearances on the podcast Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson. But this show that you're putting on this weekend, I talked about how it was unique. Can you explain it for us?
Yeah. And by the way, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's not very smart. That's all an act. It's all me. I feed him. Like, it'll be like, someone will ask him a question about astrophysics. He's like, oh, what do I say? I'm like, Neil, I can't keep carrying you.
Listen to the Star Talk episodes with Paul. You'll hear what he's talking about.
Yeah. So my show's called Permission to Speak. It's a Broadway show that we're doing. Frank Oz is the director.
Frank Oz?
Yes, like created the Muppets, director of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Bowfinger. He's the original Yoda. Try working with the original Yoda. Everything is backwards talking. Even when you go out for breakfast, omelet I will have. I get it, Frank. You're Yoda. Stop killing me. And so the show is a stand-up and storytelling show. It's born out of my talking to crowds, and it grew into from a quick one-off crowd work thing where, you do something about somebody's shirt to like just asking 3, 4, 5 questions. And in that third, fourth, fifth question, you get these stories because you get like you interview people, it's that second, third, fourth, and everybody has a story. If you're over the age of 6, everybody listening has a story. And so what really got people excited about this show, Broadway producers and Frank to get involved, people come together. I go out, tell some stories, tell some jokes, and then audience members, I just randomly pick people. They can either do it from the stage or from their seat, and they tell stories. And the premise is we're disconnected and divisive, but if we get together and share stories, we realize we have more in common than we think, and maybe we don't have to beat each other's throat all the time. And it's not a political show, but it is a show that's connecting people, and that's what Frank got really excited about. Because he says, Frank, we need a show like this now. So the show is just that. And the stories you get, they're so eye-opening, and that's what's cool about it. Like, for example, we had this guy, about 40, and he has polio. Now, I had this, like, when I don't understand something, I ask. So I never talked to anybody about polio, like, how do you live with it? And I said, how do you explain this to your child? And this is what he said. Travis, how are you? What do we got here? What's the issue?
Polio.
Oh, yeah?
When kids are younger, I would go to the school plays. Obviously, kids would be like, hey, is that your dad? Is he RoboCop? Blah, blah, blah. I would tell the kids, hey, I'm from Vietnam. That's how I got hurt. They were like, really? You were in Vietnam? And I was like, yeah. And it was a joke. But my daughter's 18 now. And a few months ago, she was like, Daddy, were you really in Vietnam? I was like, oh, I forgot I told that. And you were like, 6. I told everybody that when you were like 6. I never fixed it.
Oh, that's great. Everybody's got a story. And you're right. It's getting to those stories, and you got a knack for it.
And so, like, if you and I were writers in a writer's room and we came up with that sketch, like, a guy's got polio and he lies to his daughter and forgets, blah, blah, you'd be like, nobody's going to believe that. And that's what's been cool about this, is like, I think it's good if we get out of our silos and see how other people live their lives. You don't have to approve of it. You don't have to dig it, but it's like, whatever, right? And again, it's not a preachy show. It's not a political. It's like, I'm doing stand-up. I'm doing my stories of my crazy life. But I had this guy, when we were doing the show in New York on Broadway, in a bad mood. I go, what's going on? He goes, I just broke up with my girlfriend. He's like a 30-year-old guy. I go, what happened? He goes, well, she wouldn't listen to me. I go, what happened? He goes, I told her not to shoplift at CVS. And I go, wait, did you just say at CVS? He goes, yeah. I go, what are you talking now? He goes, yeah. He goes, I taught her how to shoplift. Anyway, I go, no, wait, not anyway.
Not anyway.
Up. Right. And now the audience is like, what is happening? Right. And he's doing this with no self-awareness. He's not putting on an act, and he thinks that this is normal, what I'm about to tell you. He goes, yeah. He goes, I shoplift. Like, that's how pretty much I get stuff, right? So I go, really? He goes, yeah, I've been stealing stuff since I was a kid. Like, I'd be like, I'd steal kids' bikes in my neighborhood, and then I'd sell them back to them, or I'd beat them up. And And the crowd's like, what is happening? He goes, so anyway, my girlfriend sees that I shoplift. I get nice stuff. I go to nice places and, like Coach and all that stuff. He goes, and I go, I'm not going to teach you how to shoplift because you're just going to be stupid about it. And you're going to shoplift at a stupid place like CVS. So what happened? I go, sure enough, she wore me down. I taught her. What does she do? She shoplifts at CVS. Gives me a phone, and I'm like, you got to shoplift at nice places like Saks and I'm like, what is happening? Like, it's like a movie where I go, Matt, I will give you these powers, but you must use them for evil and not good, right? So I go, what happened? He goes, so I get a phone call. It's like 11 o'clock at night. She's arrested in a squad car at a CVS. I go down there. We get in a huge argument. She's sitting there. She got arrested for lipstick and a hand mirror. And I said, see, we got in a huge argument. And I go, what happened? I broke up with her. I go, what, a couple of weeks later? He goes, in the back of the squad car. I don't need this aggravation. And so, like,
and then you're stuck.
Like, what is happening? Like, so we're getting these, like, just really cool. I can't believe I just heard that story. And it's just been really eye-opening and fun.
That's some real life stuff, Paul. That is, and and so cool that you can actually get it out of some. I mean, it takes a willing participant for sure, and to find the willing participants, I'm sure, is kind of a skill on your own. And then there's this thing about a guy who bought a bowling alley for like $1.
Yeah. And you say about the willing participant, they're actually very willing. Like, I just randomly pick people. I don't know why. But I find that most people want to tell their story or even need to tell their story. It's like a place to have a voice for a minute. So they're not shy. Like, I've only gotten, in all the shows I've done, one person that was a little shy. They just grab the mic and go sometimes or whatever. So this guy in Chicago, just outside of Chicago, has this like famous bowling alley, which you'll hear. But the way he bought the bowling alley was really funny and you'd never expect. So here's what he said.
I own Diversity Rock and Bowl.
No way.
I was controller of a bank investment software company, left that job to buy the bowling alley for $2 with my friend Gary.
Well, you needed a friend because you didn't have $2?
Oh, he still owes me $1.
Gary.
He still owes me $1.
Gary, I got a great deal, but I only have $1 on me. Come on, man. I can't. All right. Okay, let me call somebody else. Wait.
It's Chicago. You're in town, and I loved hearing the woman in the background going, "No way!" I mean, because like,
and I was like, I was the odd man out. I had like 500 people in the theater, and I was the only one that had no idea what was going on. I looked at him like, "What? It's a bowling alley. You don't understand. It's the most amazing bowling alley.
It's the bowling alley."
And then he continues to tell the story. By the way, I said, did anything ever strange happen in a bowling alley? Because I've been like drunk in a bowling alley and acted like an ass, right? And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, I had a bunch of Northwestern students there. Northwestern, supposed to be so smart, right? I had to throw 2 people out. They were humping on lane 36. I go, what? He goes, yeah, right there on lane 36. And then I go, well, did you use the disinfectant for the shoes to clean the table? He goes, nah, screw that. I just got the other person. Like, so it's like hanging out, going into somebody's town and hanging out and going, and remember the time. And like this guy, we've got another one real quick. This guy, he kind of looked like a dude, like what's up? Like,
okay, yeah, I got you.
On hair, and he kind of talked like a dude, and he just, you read people, and then your questions come out of like the vibe you get. So this guy puts in sprinklers, like I guess like underground sprinklers and stuff like that, and this is what happened.
You work for a sprinkler company?
Yeah.
You put the sprinklers in?
Yeah.
How far do you have to dig down with the sprinklers?
Like 8 inches.
Really? Do you ever like miss it and go too deep because you're stoned?
Oh yeah.
And it's because he just was like, goes, oh yeah, like all the time.
You're creating a space for some brutal honesty here. Is what's going on.
I find that people come up to me afterwards if I don't grab them and go, you should have called me. I have a great story. But the cool thing is that people are going up to each other after the show and making connections for a few minutes. Like, hey, my dad had a sprinkler company, or, oh, I love your bowling alley, blah, blah, blah. And, so for 5 minutes, we're like, kind of getting out of our own silo a little bit and checking out other people,
So, Paul, you've got this podcast, Inside Out with Paul Mecurio. Yeah, you've had Kevin Costner on there, Bryan Cranston. You had Paul McCartney on the show. How the heck did you get Paul McCartney?
I did. I'm huge. I'm huge in the business.
Is that how?
Sorry, who are you? I gotta go. God wants to talk to me. No. I just have this one-on-one podcast. Like I like to talk to people about the process and how they do what they do. Neil deGrasse Tyson's been on a bunch, blah, blah, blah. So Paul McCartney was doing The Late Show, and he just finished rehearsal, and I was running to get into the studio, and I round the corner, and standing in the hallway all alone is Paul McCartney, like all alone, with nobody around him, which blew my mind. You've been in radio a long time. You've run into big stars. You get a little starstruck, but this was like this is Paul McCartney, and he's alone. So my whole world slows down. I'm like, oh my God, it's Paul McCartney. And I'm like, should I say hi? Should I not say hi?
Oh, yeah, the struggle is real.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? He's alone in a hallway, unguarded, no security. He's like a gazelle on the Serengeti Plains. I'm a lion. I'm going to pounce.
Get him.
So I go up. I go, it's great to meet you. Huge fan. And I walk away. He goes, wait, come back. I'm like, what? What do you want? I got stuff to do. I don't have time for you. He goes, what's your name? I go, Paul. He goes, oh, what do you do? I go, stand up. I work on this show. I work on the deal show. Oh, great. I love it. We start just chit-chatting about life, kids. He's got a kid. And as I'm talking to him, I'm smooth on the outside. Hey, talking to Paul McCartney. On the inside, I'm like out of my mind.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like you're trying to pick a girl or a guy up at a bar, and you're like, just keep it going, keep the conversation going. Like you're bifurcating. So, and as I'm talking to him, I'm getting closer and closer and closer to his face because I'm checking him out because he's friggin' Paul McCartney. So I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, this guy looks amazing. I'm checking out every nook and cranny. I was so close. You ever see the chimps when they clean fleas off their mates? I could have cleaned like ticks off his eyebrows. I was like that close to him. Right? And he was against the wall. He was pinned, like he couldn't get away from me like that. Oh. So I go, it's great to meet you. I'm going to leave you alone. I go to the bathroom. I'm hyperventilating, and I blurt these words out. Paul McCartney should do my podcast.
Yeah.
Right? So I go and I knock on the dressing room door, and I go, I know this is crazy. I have a process podcast where I talk to people about how they create their art and do what they do. I love talking about how you make music. I'm fascinated by that process. I go, would you do my podcast? He goes, yeah, sure. Just like that.
Now, wow. And if you hadn't asked, it wouldn't have happened.
Right. And so end of story, he goes, how would we do it? And then he threw me because I didn't think he was going to say yes. And I go, and I froze. And this is what I sounded like. He goes, how would we do it? And I'm like, then
it comes out.
Come to London. And he goes, we're in a room in New York together. Why would you come to London? And then he goes, is it easy to do? And I actually said to Paul McCartney, oh, it's really easy. I don't want to be a bother. I know you're busy. You could do it like, alone naked on your toilet. I'm like, what?
You said that?
Yes, I said it. I know. I'm like, I'm screwing up this first date in a huge way, right?
Oh.
So then I go, all right, listen, I'll leave you alone. I know you're going to do your performance, and I will get with your assistant, and we'll set it up. He goes, no, you and I will do it. I go, what do you mean? He goes, they're going to make it too complicated. Just let's exchange phone numbers, and I'll call you. But when I call you, you have to be ready to do it. I swear to God, this happened exactly as I'm telling you. So now I'm handing my phone number to Paul McCartney. He gives me his phone number. He does the show. I'm running late. I don't have time to pick up my phone because my phone starts ringing. I don't recognize the number. I let it ring the voicemail. And this is the message on my phone.
Hey, Paul. It's Paul McCartney here. I'm going to ring you back in 5 minutes to do the podcast thing. I've got some time now. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of time. So if you're there in 5 minutes' time, you got me. Okay, bye.
You got to be ready for Paul McCartney.
Oh my God! I have that thing saved in. I have that saved in like 400 places. I have it saved in my dog's butt. I have it everywhere. Like it was. I literally thought he was giving me a phone number to a Chinese restaurant when he gave me his number. But he called, and then I had to stall him for like an hour. You're in radio. You would appreciate this because I had to call at the time my production studio for my podcast was in L.A. And I call and I go, yeah, listen, I got Paul McCartney. I need a recording line right away. And there was like this young intern who was like, oh, hold on a second. And he comes back and he goes, yeah, there's somebody in the studio right now. We could do it in like a couple of hours. And I snapped. And I go, did you not hear me? He said, unless you have Jesus Christ or John Lennon in that studio, you get him out right now.
So. Paul Mecurio will bring the very unique live experience that he calls Permission to Speak, and it sounds awesome, to the Schrott Center for the Arts this coming Saturday on the campus of Butler University. And you know what? I'll link you to tickets at the Mornings with Matt Pelser page at WTTSFM.com. Paul Mecurio has been my guest this morning. And in fact, we have tickets in the VIP room right now, and you can win. Go to WTTSFM.com and drop your name in the hopper. Paul, wow, how immersive. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, man.